Between 1935 and 1958, the Jehovah's Witnesses were in the Supreme Court a remarkable 45 times. And there are periods during First Amendment history when you see a particular group really carrying the banner of free expression. You could say that they don't fight, you could say that they don't vote, but what they have done is litigate. And in a way, they've contributed more to American democracy and the protection of American ideals than a lot of people have with their votes.
Jehovah's Witnesses stood up for their own religious freedom. Even if their intention was not to help other groups, the impact shifted the court's focus to protecting the unpopular and expanding rights for everyone. The right to speak freely on street corners and door to door. To publish an unconventional message without getting arrested. The right to be a conscientious objector of war. And the right of all patients seeking medical treatment to control what's done to their bodies.
Hi, may I take your order?
Yes. Let's see, can I get the number 8 with a Coke?
Seth's condition has been getting worse. His doctor told him to stop playing hockey because his liver has become seriously compromised.
I can't say that I planned it, planned on dating someone with some health issues, but when I'm with him, when I talk to him, I try to be strong. Inside, I am like terrified, you know, because if anything does go wrong, I don't want to lose him because I love him too much.
I feel when I walk slowly.
It's wasting the time.
Yes.
Without a liver transplantation, there's not a lot that I can do for him. I mean, there are a lot of things that we can do that are in the long run just busy work until his liver fails. Ultimately, he'll have to get a new liver or he'll die. The first thing I did was to call Baylor Medical Center in Dallas, one of the best anywhere. Transplants can be very bloody operations. The patient may lose a great deal of blood. They said they would not do a transplant without the ability to transfuse. I called the University of Texas at Houston as well, and I hardly got the time of day from them. But when I said Jehovah's Witness, it was no.
Witnesses and doctors have been at odds ever since blood transfusions became common in the 1950s. Witnesses asked for alternative treatments. The medical establishment refused, often forcing blood on Jehovah's Witnesses against their will. Witnesses felt they had a right to determine their own medical care. Doctors felt a religion had no right to let its members die.
Heart rate's been running at 140.
He could compromise and say, I need a liver and I'm going to take blood. This would be his choice. I mean, he's still our son. We still love him. You don't ever quit loving your children. You know, and he has taken a stand and he's not going to.
He is under a lot of peer pressure. You know, this is what you're told. This is what you believe. It isn't, you know, do you want to believe it or not? This is the way it is.
When my kids were little, my sisters would say, well, what if they needed blood? Would you just let him bleed to death? And you know, it gives you pause and you say, well, I hope I never have to face that decision. And here we are.
With the help of the Jehovah's Witness headquarters, Seth's family finally found a hospital willing to attempt a bloodless liver transplant.
Trying to do a liver transplant with no blood is going to be experimental. You've crossed over to a zone that we're kind of out here without signposts, without guidelines. This is new and novel.
As you can see here the picture, see this, that's what we're talking about. That's his liver.
Seth couldn't get on the waiting list for a new liver. Doctors won't risk wasting an organ on an experimental surgery, so his dad has volunteered to be the donor. He'll give Seth part of his liver.
Usually we remove on the donor 60 to 70%, a little bit bigger than half of the liver.
Right.
But the remaining liver will actually grow back to almost normal size. I wanted to understand clearly that, you know, and it's not risk-free. You are Jehovah's Witness and you refuse blood transfusion. Both of you make the conscious decision not to accept blood at the risk of your own life. And you have to know that this is potentially could happen.
I really need to let you know that there were 2 donors in the United States that didn't make it, died. We did have 1 donor that needed a blood transfusion. In your case, it's not an option, so you have to be aware of that.
USC will perform Seth's surgery to meet the religious needs of Jehovah's Witnesses. In turn, the hospital gets to test out new technology on them. The aim is to limit blood loss to the point where most transfusions are unnecessary. USC thinks bloodless surgery should be the new standard for everyone. The threat of HIV and other viruses in the blood supply has given doctors an incentive to work with witness patients.
That led to this weird alliance between very strange bedfellows. Jehovah's Witnesses, who never liked blood, didn't want to use blood, and a scientific community trying to figure out how are we going to do surgery if we can't use the blood supply because it might be infected. So they came together in this bizarre confluence and said, let's try and use less blood or no blood.
We call it the multiple release A. That's legally binding. The hospital would not be held responsible for your refusal of blood as far as any adverse event that would happen.
You certainly start thinking about, was this the right thing to do? And obviously as parents, you know, with Seth being 23 years old, we didn't make this decision by ourselves.
He could die. And then when I found out that my dad wanted to do the live donor, it was even kind of worse because you want to have your brother alive, and if this is a quick way to make him feel better and to make everything better and turn him around and set him on the course of healing, that's great. But you also risk losing your dad.
I hope everything's going to be okay for him. My heart breaks because I have an idea they're going through a very hard time. And I will do what I can. If she wants me, I will be there. I will do whatever it takes to support her.
Yep, your head's covering the D. There we go.
All right, now let's see your handiwork.
Yep.
See, well, you can't see the sign.
Oh, you saw it?
Well, that's the whole point of it.
Well, I got you guys. That's important.
No, it's everything's good. It'll go by fast. Just think by the time you get to work, I've already been in surgery for a couple hours. Talk to you Sunday. No goodbyes. Talk to you Sunday. So, till Sunday. See you then. Night. Okay.
Hold your hand. Sit up with you.
Good morning. Mr. Rolfe?
Yes.
Good. My name is Maria, and I'm going to be one of the nurses over here today.
Okay.
I was just putting everything in the computer.
And we don't proceed with him until we make sure that also your liver is perfect.
Yeah. But everything you've seen so far on
I think so. Yeah. Most of the tests, the blood tests and MRIs and CT scan are not 100% precise. You know.
Please, Jehovah, be with us all as a family to be strengthened through this time of trial. We know that time and unforeseen circumstances befall us all.
All right.
Would you like to see that?